Before we get up into our conversation on infrastructures and bottlenecks and all that for businesses in Nigeria, let's take a look at some of our stories this morning. And the top of that one is the number one story, talking about the NNPCL has now decided that it's time to review the Port Harcourt, Warri, Cardinal refineries for its viability. Now, this is coming after an estimated between 18 to $25 billion has been spent to fix these refineries.
According to NNPC, they say they want to review the technical and the commercial viability of the NNPC. It's so sad. And that's why we Nigerians are listening to them and watching it with cautious optimism. Because we are not sure that this time around it will not be the same jamboree where they will expend money, we will not see the result. You recall that successive government have been trying to revive that NNPC and it has got a lot of money. I remember during Olusegun Obasanjo actually sold it to Dangote and Otedola. But when Yar'Adua came, he think it's not appropriate. He withdraw it back. I think that's where we have our problem actually started, because it's not commercially viable, and that's why I made mention of the commercial viability and technical viability. But be that as it may, I'm of the opinion that, you know, if you look at the jewelry, it's coming from commercial angle of that sector. So he understands what it simply means to manage such a facility. And it's so sad. I think Nigeria deserve an apology that having removed fuel subsidy on the ground that you are going to fix our Nigeria refinery, having taken a lot of money from Nigerian pockets to actually fix the refinery, hoping that it will start working, and having telling us that this one is working, at the point they said one has packed up, Port Harcourt has packed up, saying no, it's working at a particular level. Even people in Port Harcourt in that area were saying no, it's a fluke, nothing is actually working. And finally, Ojulari said yes, maybe with the understanding of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they are going to seek, there's a way he even put it, equity partner. There's where they put it. That simply shows that they are ready to actually go on maybe selling some part of it. It's not bad if you sell 50 and manage 50, or if you sell, we have seen LNG working out very well. I think that model will be a good one, but we are still with cautious optimism.
Okay, so one of the questions that come to mind for me is, away from just trying to fix the apparatuses, really, because that's the technical and commercial viability and all that of it, I want to believe that there have been staff who have been there, who have been paid salaries for the longest time while this has not been working, or they've been ordered, told, they've been made redundant. There's so many questions around this whole viability and non-functional.
Let's be fair, do you want somebody to work without being paid?
But if the refinery has not been working, then what exactly?
It's a two different thing. In as much as you resume at office at 9 and you close at 5, you've got to work, and the salary has to be paid. That is effectiveness. The efficiency part of it belongs to the federal government. So people can go to work without being efficient and effective. So they are effective by resuming at the appropriate time.
So we're saying that beyond the 18 to 25 billion put in fixing the infrastructure, there's been equally more money of salaries being paid to people who have not been effective and efficient.
They have to be paid. The fact remains that what are you actually spending money for? The question we should be asked should be, first, for the last GMD of NPC, what's his name? Melikari, and his directors should be questioned that this amount, XYZ amount that you are giving, why have we not serious? And that's why sometimes you have to draw a KPI. That's okay. If I spend XYZ, this is what I'm expecting. If I didn't expect XYZ, you will be sacked. I don't know when we will start that, or you will have to resign honorably, because I don't know how we expend such a humongous amount and there's no result for it. And that's why we must also have public contracts now with Ojulari, that it's your turn now and you're also moving your own direction. Are you sure this is going to come out well? These are the questions Nigerians should ask, because it's our common patrimony that's been expended on it. Those money can be used to build a lot of road, infrastructure, social infrastructure, schools, hospitals. But we said we want to use it to, bring it. And you could see a single refinery belongs to an individual. He starts it and actually make sure that it's succeeded.
He's even trying to expand it now.
That's how I'm going. He's even trying to expand it now. And you now say collective Nigeria find it difficult to not even build, because we are not saying it should be the new refinery. Because I knew that the money we have expended to do turnaround for it would have built a new one for us. But we're not saying even build a new one.
Actually, because 25 billion and Dangote spent 20 billion.
It's a two different
Okay,
thing.
so my last question on this topic is it really important that we as a country, away from, patriotism and all that, own and manage a refinery if it seems we do not have the wherewithal to do a good job?
Honestly, I'm of the opinion that we should sell that refinery or have a partnership of 70-30. Let us own 30. Let a private sector, have 70, and let's see if it works. Because we cannot continue to manage and say it's a state-owned company. After all, we have seen a lot of state-owned like Aramco. We have seen a lot of them that being managed by states, and it's working well. But our own is pretty difficult. And I can tell you, the canker is still corruption. Until we are able to bring people to book, bring justice, and make sure that people are punished. Since you got to hear about the arrest of Billy Kyari, is there any other news? I have not got to hear anyone. Maybe you have got to hear as a journalist.
Okay. All right. Let's come back to our conversation here.
Right.
Now, Nigeria's money supply has dropped, and that's from 117 to 117.78 trillion naira in September. But away from that, I'm going to go to the one that we earlier talked about, another guest on the show last month or earlier in the month, which was about the credit to private sector dropping to 72.5 trillion. This is 6 months now. From April, there's been a decline so far. What does this mean? We were hoping, or the hopes of most people is, now that the rate cut has reduced, albeit quite little, there should be some form of more lending, more credit going to people, to private sector now.
I recall I was on a particular station with director of monetary something from CBN, and we're asking him that, director from CBN, why not being strategic in money you are lending? Why not say, bank, we want you to give agricultural sector so a month, we want you to give small business so a month? And the argument was that no, they don't want to structuralize it and all those things. It is sad that even in the face of high interest rates, you are still not making money available for private sector. And that's why we said CBN must do their due diligence. Private sectors, for economy to grow, for you to have expected GDP, for you to move from where we are, for a small business to move from small business to scale to medium scale level business, there must be money that is available at a considerable interest rate. But even Nigeria is not even bothered about the interest rate now, because it's 27.5%. 27%.
7%. Okay, yeah.
Then
5 was sticking out, yes.
Corridor,
Yes.
Look at the corridor, and I think it's still not up to 30. Look at add the corridor with that should be 29 point something. So even at that, you are still not giving. But government will come, cap in hand. I mean, let me not say cap. They will come and
because from the story, government's lending increased.
It's a sad thing. So the main people that need this money to actually thrive, you are not giving them. But I think it's because perhaps maybe they are so strategic. They want to give it to where it's sure that they are going to get their money.
Of returning. I believe that must
bad,
be the thing.
But you must also structure how you give private sector. So that means we are not ready for our economy to grow.
All right, now let's move to our conversation for today. We're talking about infrastructure and logistical bottlenecks. And one of the other caps that my guest here is something called supply chain expert, which is basically logistics at the end of the day. Now, an impact on business, cost, and competitiveness in Nigeria. A recent report by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry estimated that businesses in Nigeria lose around 2.5 trillion naira annually due to port inefficiencies and poor infrastructure. Logistics costs have been reported as high as 40% of product prices, partly due to port inefficiencies, regulatory delays, and infrastructure gaps. The infrastructure gap is quite massive, quite large. Nigeria reportedly loses, or rather needs, $3 trillion over 30 years to bridge the infrastructure deficit, and has only built about 60,000 kilometers of paved roads, among the lowest in the world. Of course, power supply remains a severe constraint. Firms often resort to self-generation, adding to cost and reducing productivity. How do these bottlenecks affect businesses, costs, and of course competitiveness in Nigeria?
So basically, let's look at supply chain from its definition. So that said, what happened between the point of manufacturing to the point of consumption. So the bottlenecks therein is what we call supply chain. So it has to do with what? Transportation, movement of goods from one place to the other. And if you ask me, most businesses suffered a lot on our roads. And when we say on our road, it simply means that the cost that it's involved, most countries even engage on rail. When you go through rail, you are sure that yes, they move at the time they say they will move, and it can carry a whole lot. And that's what the precursor for why even Dangote went and bought 4,000 truck. It's because of supply chain. So if we cannot have a seamless supply chain, it will be pretty difficult for us to actually do business appropriately. A 40-feet container from Lagos to Kano, let's analyze that. A 40-feet container from Lagos to Kano, how much are you going to pay for it? How is the movement even within ports? Under port, we have a lot of bureaucratic bottleneck. What we always say is custom. Even though custom is very high, you have to look at port head, you have to look at, SON, you have to look at NAFDAC, you have to look at even police on the road. So if you look at all those costs, it's going to add to what you have expended and you will shift it, and it's quite discouraged. So sometimes as a supply chain person, you look at consignment that is coming abroad and you have to calculate how much am I going to pay for the port to actually bring it, how much am I going to expend on the road. Then you say no, it's better you make do with what you actually have, and that's quite discouraged. It affects what we call import and export. It affects local trade itself. So that's why governments look at a country like China. That's why they are succeeding. They focus on supply chain. I'm sure that it's seamless for you to move an item from one place, so that be it through rail, be it through water, be it through transportation, even through air. Where you look at all those things, they make it much more easier. In fact, if you go to Brussels or Antwerp, which happen to be like capital of logistics in the whole world, places like Belgium, their own business is logistics and supply chain for the whole country, and it's flourishing well. For us that even have a lot of water, and we have the population, the major thing we must look at is that area of supply chain, the logistics part of it, because every business has to look at the cost of. Let me even tell you, most manufacturing company, the cost of production is not as expensive as the cost of logistics that you make it to get to your door mouth. That simply means most manufacturing sectors are even discouraged. By the time you look at the cost of production is not the problem, but you must move the item across the whole nation so that buyer can actually get it closer to them. Okay. It becomes a problem. Okay. So these are the problems we must look at. Okay, now you've mentioned quite a few things. Now let's look at which ones might actually be the major problem. So which infrastructure bottlenecks between ports, power, railroads, rail imposes the highest marginal cost on businesses in Nigeria right now? I think it's interwoven. It's pretty difficult to separate them. Because when you say port, let's give port its own problems. Ports have issue of we need a one-stop shop port. And that's why we expect national single window to address. I will not say maybe by January they want to start implementing.
Well, I think it's by first 3 months of 2026.
That's what we want to actually see. Because if you look at it now, I was discussing with someone when I was coming that he was a car dealer. He is a car dealer, he's still a car dealer, but he's been down because of the cost of importing a car. So, and if it's down because of that, that simply means a lot of people have been discouraged from actually importing it simply because of ports and the bureaucratic nature of it. Now, you also recall that currency is also a problem because because of the naira to dollar value, people still think no. So, in terms of port, we want a one single, whereby online you would have solved all your problem. Your own is to just go there and get your goods. I think that will solve. Then in terms of a road infrastructure, it will be, I don't think we can emphasize that enough. I don't know what, if you need to go to Kaduna or need to go to Kogi, you see what I'm trying to say. That's for federal road, let alone talk about state road. Let's talk about local government. Let's talk about feeder road, that the farmer need a feeder road to move things from his farm down to maybe a closer market. We must be intentional about in fact, there should be a state of emergency on our roads. Because I listened to the Minister of Works, David Umahi. He was talking about that they have done some kilometers, but you are doing what we call elephant project, which has to do with Calabar, Lagos. Come and do the road that actually make people to move from one place to the other. And there's some cost. It also affects us on cost of transportation. Most commercial vehicles, we discovered that the road they are going to pass from one place to the was it Ibadan to Osogbo that I actually applied the other time. And when I got to the cost of transportation, I was wowed. And the person said, "Do you know how much we use to fix our car, to repair our car?" That's a part of why it is quite expensive. So we must look at road, and we must also look at it as a federal government issue. States also should be, involved in fixing road.
Okay, so now these things all have certain agencies that they are under. So let's look at some of them. How effective do you think that these agencies, the likes of FIRMA, NPA, NRC, NIWA, have been in reducing bottlenecks? Have they actually helped to reduce bottlenecks?
I think the mandate of FIRMA is to do patching.
That's the mandate.
That's the. I'm not
yes,
seeing
Federal Road Maintenance Agency. Yes.
So, right. but a lot of roads are beyond patching now, because when you do this, you solve this again. They will cut and they will fix this one before you. When the thing is true, those roads need another layer.
Well, that should equally be part of patching, because you're not building from scratch, putting gravel and laying.
I'm not sure they have budget and that is under their purview. I'm not actually speaking for them, but I think it's the onus is on the Ministry of Works to really look into those roads and fix them. You cannot tell me that you want FEMA to repair Kaduna Abuja Road. Is it not beyond their power?
It's federal.
And that's not patching. So that's total relay of it. You may not have to do the gutter and maybe tilt the ground again, but so it's road work of the federal government to actually carry out, especially Ministry of Works. Then you talk about NIWA. I think NIWA, for me, I don't know how they are doing it, because if you look at the level of casualty of people that actually got mishap on our
especially
water,
around that Niger
even some corners, you imagine, even from part of Kogi, people use this thing. So I don't think they're actually monitoring it as expected. Nobody should be on a boat or what have you without a life jacket. But because we are not seen as a commercial, and that's one of my happiness before. When President Bola Tinubu introduced Ministry of Blue
Economy,
I was so happy that, okay, then we want to focus on that area. But now I can't actually mention what this sector has actually, because I was expecting that have that ministry, there will be much more focus on water transportation and water business related. So I was thinking it will even give much more employment, but I'm not sure. Even though they are new, I think by now they would have stabilized, would have seen what they are doing. I think they need to do more. And for me, if I have my way, they should remove NPA from Ministry of Blue and Marine Economy.
Yes, okay.
Yes, because when you have a cash cow, I'm not saying a cash cow to an individual, Nigerian cash cow as it is.
Okay, so you believe that because the NPA is under that, they will not how to make other experts work and do a good job.
Exactly. So maybe they would have focused much more on marine. Their thinking would be on
how to make the water
and exactly do more business in there. Because when I saw that they are bringing it, NPA could also be on transportation. You know that even that area, about 3 ministries is working on. We have NPA. Ministry of Transportation. We have Ministry of Blue and Marine. If you look at what they are doing, then there's
I believe aviation should be part of it because it's the ports
exactly.
as well.
So these are the things that we need to look at. But we must focus on making sure those things are actually working well. And if you look at, I think Lagos State, we should commend Lagos State. If you go to Lagos State, I think I used to see their jetty. You'll be even happy to board it. When you want to cross from Shomolu to Island, I think I have to follow you. You see, even you'll be happy boarding it. So we should look into that area very well. It's so viable. And for Lagos, I think they can still also do more. You can see that, is it Dirty December now? You see that there was a competition on water in Lagos.
Yes, there was one that happened,
that's
the first
commercial area of it that the ministry needs to look at. Blue economy. So such area.
It was something that, we could, part of our conversation yesterday about tourism in Nigeria.
Exactly.
That was some sort of tourism that took place. People came in to see that.
Under marine and blue economy.
Yes.
So we must make sure we activate those things. It will bring more money because everybody wants to have a taste of such a, tourist entity.
Okay, so one of the other things, again, when all these things happen, we talk about PPP all the time, public-private partnership and how this works. Do you think that the processes that these things go through are actually transparent enough and help to alleviate, these projects? Because even if you say the government should do the roads, it might be best that it's a PPP, so that way the burden is not so much on the government and the company recoups its money via toll gating and all that.
I have not applied the Makodi road, but I was told that it's told, or it should be told because it's PPP. Now, let's look at PPP very well. When you look at the public-private partnership, I must tell you, as government, you must also invest in it. Just like what you have in electricity. Since I've been privatized now, have you seen any private sector coming into that area? No. Because government must first of all put their money and make the land much more easy for people to come and invest. Because you cannot invite foreign direct investments and you have not actually, give them enabling environments. Beyond enabling environment too, they also look at your economy. Is it viable to actually invest into? When will they recover whatever they actually put into? If not, we'll enter with discourse. People come with portfolio and not much investment. So you must invest in it first. So if you say, yes, this road, you want to make it PPP, you must also go there and do your own part. Make sure that, the processes, make sure the place they are going to do some feasibility study for them, so it will attract them to do more. So if you want to do it, I think the economy is getting better. Maybe they should look at that and investors to actually come in for that.
Now, let's talk about the benefits of this for SMEs. They are largest, employers of labor. They really bring so much to the GDP. Almost 50% of the GDP is generated by the MSMEs in this country. Now, how can infrastructure investments be structured so that it benefits them as well and not just major companies and major players?
Right. Now that business is even beyond brick and mortar, you don't need to have 4-wall offices everywhere to do business now. That simply means this is when we need logistics much more, whereby you get consignment, you take it, transport it yourself. The infrastructure gap is actually affecting us because I recall when small business small business owners want to do business, they do what we call groupage. So we come together like 6 or 7, so we can follow one transport. But the thing is, the transport is very, very expensive. That by the time you even get your consignment, it will be difficult for you to break even. And that's why you see that some people will be in business after 1 year, they have to pack, and actually move on. So we need infrastructure to do a whole lot. And that's why government must be intentional to say, okay, let me create market for people. Just like, let's even go to Shinot, that government actually, I was thinking government should create market. When you create market for people to actually sell close to the raw material, when you pick, government creates where you, and when you want to transport it, it's much more easier. But if you pick and you need to transport to the next point and the cost of transportation is actually much, or you have to drop the business and you want. So these are the things that we must look into very well. So we must make sure that this infrastructure is there. And I want to emphasize it again. It must not be only federal government. Since government, according to them, are getting more money, they should also invest in that area. I saw budget reports that numbers out. How viable some states are, how not viable. Because some states still collect internal generated revenue, collect fact allocation, they can still show anything that is coming out from it. So I think that's where government need to hold them accountable. And I'm happy that such report is coming. Still, states will see their status, that we are only collecting, we are not doing the right thing.
Okay, now technology, the world is going and moving at that speed and space. Now, how can technology, things like digital clearance systems, IoT tracking, automated logistics, how can it actually help overcome the physical infrastructure bottlenecks that we have?
Right. So at this age, I don't think we can do business without technology. Perhaps if you do without technology, you will not break even. So, and that's why government must be intentional to create a lot of opportunity for us to actually do businesses. There's a lot of ERP that people embarked on to actually do business. So when we talked about technology, even access to internet, access to optic fiber, these are the things that government must look at. Because if you look at even the generation we are now, people transact from their dorm out. People will order things from where they are, and that thing will actually arrive. So if there's no enabling environment, especially technology infrastructure that will help, it will become a difficult one. If you look at fintech too, fintech are investing in logistics as well. But because if you have a logistic platform now, you need to embedded a payment platform, right? And those things are still technology. So we need to be exposed intentionally to some technology that will suit our needs. And that's why I said on a particular level that poverty reduction, you need to focus on bottom-up approach, because what we need is what you should provide for. Not that you sit down and say, let me give them 100,000 per month. Let me give them, no. You have to look at what people actually need that will solve their problem. By so the people will be, they will be doing things without you even involve a lot. So I think infrastructure is very, very key. Nothing stop a government to provide a particular environment that technology, it should be like technology village, whereby the infrastructure, I recall during Passenger refineries, there's a particular area where you go in Abuja, you see internet free. And you can actually intentionally go there to really transact a whole lot. I think there should be hub like that. I remember during Muhammad Buhari too, there was hub. I remember too. That
was something our guest on Friday was talking about.
Right.
When we talked about industrialization hubs, in way to make businesses easy for people, MSMEs.
Right.
Maybe we come here, maybe you produce for us, we go sell. So you reduce the cost of power, reduce the cost of all those other thing on us. We just go into Ghana. So
it's also bring economic of scale, whereby when you are doing it together and the cost is just like what we will have a Duyard. I don't know what government is doing to support them. You must also focus on a place like that, area markets, a place like Inewi. You must also technologically focus on them and make life much more easier and bearable for them.
Okay. Now, if we're able to reduce a logistics situation by, say, 10%, what effect will it have on the GDP?
A whole lot. It will have effect on people's pocket first. That simply means what you are expending, will now be in your pockets. You have more disposable income. And by so you now invest in the other businesses. It will have a lot of effect. Do you know what simply means to reduce 10% from someone's logistics? That simply means there is more money. They will reinvest more and the GDP will actually move forward.
Now, infrastructure spending is one thing we keep talking about, and you just said it earlier that money that we keep pumping into the NNPC trying to fix it would have done so much well for us.
Yeah.
But now, considering the situation that we're in now, doing our constraints with money and how we're trying to make the economy viable, how well would this work to make the infrastructure? How can Nigeria develop infrastructure better to help our businesses, which in turn, of course, will help the economy?
You recall that our current Minister for Trade Investment was at the Office of Ease of Doing Business. So what I would suggest for the federal government is to have something like that has to do with what? Logistics and supply chain, ease of supply chain in Nigeria. So by so doing, they will now identify that infrastructure is a key thing. By so doing, because I remember when she was there, she made a lot of things work. The registration before, when you register in CAC, you have to go to FRS, will be looking for your TIN number. But now, once you register in CAC, a TIN number is following you. So a lot of things are made much more. Those was we call it a much more not practical. I mean, it's soft one. We want a practical one like ease of supply chain that will make things much more. And road is very, very critical. Look at accident that happen every now and then. Look at what happened in Nigeria. It's because of bad road, according to the report I actually read. So we must make sure. Look at what the owner would have traded off. He's a businessman. That man will find it difficult maybe in the next 5 years to actually do another business because his profits could be marginal. Maybe
it's a turnover basis.
Exactly. Maybe the consignment may be 200 million. But his own profit will be maybe 5 million naira. And where will he start? I pray he's on insurance. The insurance can come to his phase 8. So these are the things we must look at. So if we can have a unit like that deals with supply chain in Nigeria, I think that will help the ease of doing business in Nigeria.
Now, just our last question before we wrap up the program.
Right.
We've talked about the internal situation here, but beyond that, we are a global member. We're part of a global world. How can Nigeria make its export sector more competitive through better logistics and infrastructure, and let's say 3 to 5 years?
We have African Continental Free Trade.
It keeps coming out.
So, and the major thing they are trying to do is ease of doing business within Africa. And to do ease of doing business, that means there must be a seamless way of handling it. I think Nigeria is not benefiting from that area, because if you notice, Ghana has key into it's very, very well compared. So we must also look at the global stage and look at what they are doing well in those global stage, actually do more. We must also look at the trade surplus that we are having from some country. By now, we should also have trade surplus, thanks to Dangote, that is even helping us to have balance of payment and balance of trade. So our goal should be to have balance of trade, balance of payment, not only in oil and gas. You understand? We should look at it from other sector. And I think if we can do that, we can actually benefit from African Continental Free Trade Area and other global, agreements that has to be bilateral or multilateral.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ilias, for your insights and, of course, takes on the situation we discussed this morning.
Thank you for having me.
That's the much we have for you on the program this morning. But in case you just joined us, before we were about to wrap up, we discussed about the infrastructure and logistics bottlenecks, its impact on business, cost, and competitiveness in Nigeria. How can we solve this? How can we move forward? Of course, infrastructure like roads, rail, very important. These things could help make the cost of business cheaper, and of course, in turn, cost of buying goods and services and cost of living cheaper as well. That's the much we have for you on the program this morning. I've been your host, Chiamaka Nwafo. Same time, same place tomorrow. Bye for now.